13th, 2016 formal county commission meeting. I'm going to call on Sheriff John Fuson to call the meeting to order. If you would, please remain standing for the pledge, led by Commissioner Garland Johnson, our invocation by Chaplain Joe Creek.
All rise. Oh yes, this Honorable Board of County Commissioners is now in session pursuant to adjournment. Now may God save this state and this Honorable Board of County Commissioners.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It says in the Bible in 1 Corinthians 2:9, but it is written, eye have not seen, nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath provided and prepared for them that love him. Let's pray. Our Father and our God, we thank you for your love and your watch care. We thank you for this legislative body and they're willing to serve. We appreciate the leadership that's been provided in our county, our department heads, our county employees. They're the greatest asset that we have. Now just lead and guide, direct us through this meeting, and when our views differ, let us respect one another. For it's in Christ's name I pray. Amen.
Amen. If you would, please register your attendance. Ms. Jackson, would you please read the attendance?
We have 20 present and 1 absent.
Thank you, ma'am. Our first item of business is the approval of our May 9th, 2016 minutes. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Harper, second. Commissioner Gannon. Any discussion on our minutes of May 9th, 2016? If you would, please register your vote. Does anyone want to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on our agenda is our zoning resolutions. We have one case tonight. It's CZ 9 2016, application of Earl Butts from R1 to C5. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riggins, second. Commissioner Robert Nichols. Any discussion on CZ 9 2016? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. On to our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution 166-1, resolution to ratify Chapter 167 of the Private Acts of 1979, House Bill number 2621 of the 109th General Assembly of the State of Tennessee to add to the definition of person the term of governmental unit. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Harper. Is there a second? Commissioner Keene. Any discussion on 1661? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Next on our agenda is Resolution 1662, resolution of the Montgomery County Board of Commissioners approving amendments to the 2015-16 school budget. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Tooley, is there a second? Commissioner Albert, any discussion on 1662? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1663 is a resolution to ratify a clerical correction, and Resolution 1653 authorizing the lease of computers for the Clarksville Montgomery County school system. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Harper, second. Commissioner Brockman, any discussion on 1663? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1664, resolution regarding lawsuit of Mac Phillips and Leanne Phillips versus Montgomery County, Tennessee, and the Clarksville-Montgomery County Regional Planning Commission. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Arnold Hodges, is there a second? Commissioner Riccone, any discussion on 1664? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change your vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1665, resolution to transfer money in the informational technology budget for part-time personnel. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Baggett, second. Commissioner Tooley. Any discussion on 1665? If you would, please register your vote. Anyone want to change your vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 19 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1666, a resolution to amend the budget of the Montgomery County Health Department for cleaning of air ducts and air handling units. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Brockman, second. Commissioner Riggins, any discussion on 1666? If you would, please register your vote. Does anyone wish to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1667 is a resolution dissolving the Fair Board, Information Systems Committee, and the Land Acquisition Committee as recommended by the Rules Committee. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riccone, second. Commissioner Keene. Any discussion on 1667? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 1668, resolution establishing a Montgomery County Fair Board. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Butts, is there a second? Commissioner Johnson, any discussion on 1668? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, and 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 1669, resolution to change from the Tennessee Consolidated Retirement System's existing regular defined benefit plan. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Harper. Second, Commissioner Gildersleeve. Any discussion on 1669? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
16610 is a resolution to levy a tax rate in Montgomery County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Creek, second. Commissioner Nichols. Any discussion on 16610? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Resolution 16611, resolution making appropriations for the various funds, departments, institutions, offices, and agencies in Montgomery County, Tennessee for the fiscal year beginning July 1, 2016 and ending June 30, 2017, and approving the funding of the nonprofit charitable organizations in accordance with TCA 5-9-109. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Riggins, second. Commissioner Genus. Any discussion on 16611? Oh, okay. I thought they were going to turn red or something. I knew something was broke about this thing. Commissioner Gannon.
Thank you, Mayor. As we discussed last week, it's under the impression that the land next to Fredonia is sold or is in the process of being sold. So I would like to make a motion that we remove that 100,000 from the capital projects.
There's a motion and a second to remove the $100,000 that was appropriated in our budget for the purchase of some property adjacent to the Fredonia School. Any discussion on the amendment? Commissioner Baggett.
Thank you, Mayor. I oppose this amendment, and the reason I do, this $100,000 is already in our budget, and in the past, in Woodlawn, we had spent $2.5 million renovating the ball fields down there. Sevitan Park, $2.5 million, St. B. Guthrie, South Guthrie Community Center, about $900,000. And Rich Allen Park, over in, across the river, a little over $8 million. In the budget, we have presently at this time, $250,000 for Civitan Park Phase 2 design, Greenway Trail, $500,000 matching for a grant, and Rotary Park about $750,000 for road work and stuff. Also, we have $2.5 million for the Civic Plaza Phase 2 design. It's already in the budget. This property is sold, but it's not closed out. I think until it closes out, we need to leave that money there. The Budget Committee made an offer to the Friends of Fredonia. If they come up with a 12.5, they would present the $100,000 for that property, and we can do that. At this time, I will be voting against this amendment, and I ask my fellow commissioners to do that also. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Baggett. Commissioner Vallejos.
Thank you, Mayor. We've addressed this twice before, and once again going a third time. And while I hear Commissioner Baggett's concern, there'd be a lot of citizens like to take all that project money out of there and put it to our infrastructure and our roads and a whole lot of other things, but that's not the way it works. But I think this has already gone through twice. It's like a slap in the face a third time. We voted on it, and I think it's simply put it back in the general fund the way it ought to do. We've done our due diligence. They came to us. We bought the property. And I mean, we're leaps and bounds in where we said we were not going to go at a fast pace. Somehow it's picked up pace. So once again, ask my fellow commissioners support restoring this money back to the general fund.
Thank you, Commissioner Vallejos. Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to clarify, so all the commissioners are aware, I'm the one in Budget Committee that made the compromise, and that compromise was if the citizens of Fredonia would come up with $12,500, the county would add $100,000 to that. And my intent with that was to help with the property being bought. However, now we have the property that's already been sold. It hasn't, that sale has not closed. However, the intent is there. So as a result of that, this offer is no longer valid in my opinion. So I would appreciate it if you'd vote for the amendment, removing it from the budget.
Commissioner Albert.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I'd like to just echo Commissioner Baggett that until that line that you signed on that dotted line and the check is cleared the bank, there's no guarantee that that property will not fail and not go through. So I would ask you that it's theirs to be presented for the property, and until it's sold, let's hold to that promise that we got in the budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Albert. Commissioner Redd.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to agree with one of the former speakers that says, you know, we've already voted 3 times to take this out, and the house there has already been sold to someone else. And it just seems like if we're voting over and over to do this, you know, we should go ahead and do it. We keep going so much, we're going to end up being like the city voting 10 times on one item in one night, it seems like. But I'd ask you to support the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Redd. Anyone else regarding the amendment? Ms. Jackson, you have the amendment?
Yes, sir.
You comfortable with it?
Yes, sir.
So the amendment is to remove the $100,000 from the Fredonia project out of the budget, out of capital projects. It was in capital projects, correct? Out of the capital projects budget. With no further discussion, if you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 14 yeses, 6 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. The amendment is approved. All right, back to 16-611 as amended. Any discussion? I know some of y'all hit the button. Let her get this vote cleared and I'll call upon you. It won't? Oh, well, okay then. It's just a delay tactic. So, Commissioner Vallejos, you were scheduled to speak. Now you've disappeared. I think Mr. Riccone would probably yield to you if that's okay. Yeah, you were the first name I saw, Commissioner Vallejos.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, speaking to Resolution 16-611, I would just like to make sure that is the resolution we're speaking to. Am I correct?
That's correct,
Okay.
as amended.
That's amended. I would like to make sure that concerning our nonprofit, that we make sure that whatever goes out, we are shown a report where it's going out. I want us to be discreet and who we're giving this to because the community is looking at us. I'd prefer actually that, being a director of a former nonprofit, 3 of them, there comes a time when you got to fend for yourself, and I think many of the citizens have said that. So I just think if you would just give us a report on that, I would appreciate it after the funds have been spent. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Commissioner Vallejos. Commissioner Riccone?
I'd like to make a motion to amend the budget and specifically to increase the Civic Plaza budget $500,000 to be used to place the utilities underground and for the county to continue to explore the pilot program with CDE so we can offset that cost.
There's a motion to amend the capital projects budget. Is there a second? Second by Commissioner Albert. Commissioner Vallejos.
Thank you, Mayor. Now, going back to this amendment, was this not the funding for the underground initially in the first plans?
No, sir.
Okay, so this was never in the plans at all?
No, sir, not the estimate that Hodson Douglas produced back probably about a year ago. It was not included.
Okay, so at this point, if we don't amend it here, how does this slow us down?
I don't know that we can say that it actually slows us down, but if we don't get some commitment from CDE on reducing the in lieu of taxes payment, as we've discussed, then the utilities will just have to stay overhead. Talking about that, I know I've been in conversation with city council members pertaining to this, and I know that, and Commissioner Wallace Red could probably switch one hat on and put the other one on. Just don't get feisty. And probably tell us about if you had talked about, if they've talked about any of that funding for this underground and pertaining to the city. Mr. Harper, would you yield to allow Mr. Red to answer his question? Certainly. Thank you. No. Thank you, Commissioner Red.
Thank you. So I don't see, I just don't think throwing 500,000 suddenly, I'm just not in favor of it. I just think it's just so sudden. I mean, why now? Why didn't they, these planners think about that? And I mean, we're now how far along in the process, and then we're hearing this.
I personally can't answer why they didn't think about it. I know that once the county kind of took the lead on the project, that's one of the first things I mentioned to them, and they said it was not part of the budget. Commissioner Vallejos, Commissioner Harper.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm reminded there was one of my favorite actors is Tom Hanks. He did a movie several years ago called The Money Pit, and I'm very concerned. We passed a budget for the Civic Plaza, and I was in favor of that. But what I'm not in the favor of is escalating that budget even $1 more than what we approved. I'm absolutely opposed to raising that budget. If we do need to put them underground, which I think is probably a good idea, there are modifications we need to make to the plan, to the Civic Plaza, to accomplish that goal. We don't need to spend more than $1 more than what we agreed to do. Thanks.
Any further discussion on the amendment? Ms. Jackson, do you have the amendment?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We're now voting on the amendment, just to briefly restate it, to add $500,000 to the capital projects budget, Civic Plaza specifically for underground utilities, and continue to work on the payment in lieu of taxes agreement with CDE. Is that pretty close, Mr. Riccone? Thank you. If you would, please register your vote. Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 9 yeses, 11 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, back to 16-611, as amended with the removing the Fredonia funds from the budget. Any further discussion on 16-611? Commissioner Redd?
Thank you, Mayor. Real quickly, account number 58500, the United Way, the appropriation is $130,000. I'd like to move to remove this from the budget and have that $130,000 to go back into the regular funds, general funds.
There's a motion to remove $130,000 from nonprofit funding for the United Way. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Gibbs. Any discussion on this amendment? Commissioner Redd?
Sir, Mayor, if I may speak on it. This also, of course, we have a similar amount with the city, and Council Lady Deanna McLaughlin and myself for several years have been trying to remove this from the city budget as well. I'm all for nonprofits. I think every nonprofit is great, but in light of recent events with some nonprofits where we have had problems, I think that governmental tax dollars should be used to run the government. And I realize the amount is not that much, but we are using tax dollars from people that send in their tax dollars for the government, and we are giving those to a nonprofit organization and with the city as well. They have to present a budget. Then once we give them the money, we don't really have oversight like they are a department head. And I understand now that the United Way is giving this out, but I just believe that it is time now to go ahead and remove this appropriation. Thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Johnson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Honestly, I don't think that it's fair, and I don't think it's realistic to vilify every nonprofit because there have been a few that have gone astray. I understand that these nonprofit organizations help a lot of people, and they help people in a lot of ways that they would not otherwise be able to be helped. And one thing for all of us to remember is that these people that are receiving services from these nonprofits also pay taxes. Thank you.
Commissioner Riccone?
I would kind of like to echo Commissioner Johnson's statement. I certainly don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Everybody knows that the news, we've had nonprofits that haven't behaved properly. But I know through the budget process, we've placed a lot of restrictions on the United Way that these funds have to be used in the county. And when you start looking at it, the money that we give United Way, if that money's not in the system, the county's probably paying more than that to provide these same services. So I do think there is a good return on that dollar. It is tough to give away tax dollars, but I do think we have a good return on our money, and I believe it needs to stay in the budget. Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Jackson, you have this amendment?
Yes, sir.
You're removing the funding for the nonprofits. Was it 130,000?
I would like one point of clarification. He said general reserve. I'm assuming that's general fund. Thank you.
If you would, please register your vote. What? Oh, Commissioner Vallejos, I'm sorry.
Jeff, if you can clarify, is the 130 down? That's down from the previous year from 160, am I right? It was 130 last year?
What was it the year before that?
Oh, it was a lot more.
Over 300,000.
Oh, it was over. So pertaining to this, once again, I concur with Commissioner Redd, but at the same time, I feel like Johnson, you just can't, I think you got to, maybe next year, do it down to maybe 85,000, and the next year make it a 3-year process. But I think sooner or later, just let it disappear. But to do it outright right now, I think would be hurting them, because I know the director of United Way does a great job, and I concur with Johnson. And at the same time, but I think maybe our budget committee can look at it and put in a plan so we can do it at a little at a time. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 4 yeses and 16 noes and 0 abstentions.
Okay, that proposed amendment fails. We're back to 16-611 as amended. Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, if you would, please register your vote on 16-611 as amended, that amendment being removing the $100,000 for the Fredonia project. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 18 yeses, 2 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. 16-612 is a resolution to amend the budgets of various funds for fiscal year 2016 in certain areas of revenues and expenditures. Is there a motion for approval? Commissioner Brockman, second. Commissioner Riggins. Any discussion? Commissioner Riggins.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to amend Resolution 16-6-12 to add an additional $10,000 to 101-52900-00000-52. You have it on your desk. Let me just say that. For the postal charges due to increased postal charges for delinquent notices.
Ms. Jackson, did you get that?
Yes, sir.
Did you get all those numbers? I hope you did.
Yes, sir. Would you like for me to repeat?
He kind of quit in the middle of the stream. We have a motion to amend 16-612. Is there a second? Second, Commissioner Keene. Before any discussion, Mr. Taylor, do you want to just explain to the commission real quick kind of what this is?
Yes, sir. What it amounts to is, after doing the year-to-date budget report just recently, I went back and looked at the postage amounts, and it was already $7,000 over budget. And with, I think, after speaking with Ms. Davis, they've already got almost $500 additional fees. So we just needed to go ahead and ensure that that doesn't go over budget at year end. It's for the delinquent tax notices sent out.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Any discussion on 16-612, on the amendment to 16-612? Okay, we're voting on the amendment to add an additional $10,000 to postal charges. If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Now we're voting on 16-612 as amended. Any discussion on 16-612 as amended? If you would, please register your vote. Commissioner Keene. Didn't get you for some reason. There we go. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 19 yeses, 1 no, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Under unfinished business, we have no unfinished business. Under reports, the county clerk's report. This will require approval by the commission. Ms. Jackson, would you like to read your report?
Comes Kelly A. Jackson, County Clerk, Montgomery County, Tennessee, presents the County Clerk's report for the month of May 2016. I hereby request that the persons named on the list of new applicants to the office of Notary Public be elected. The oaths of the Sheriff's Deputy and the Deputy County officials are approved as taken. This report shall be spread upon the minutes of the Board of County Commissioners. You do not have any that are signed by personal surety. You received that list last week, and you do not have any names that need to be read into the minute for bond purposes.
Is there a motion to approve the clerk's report? Commissioner Creek, second, Commissioner Butts. Any discussion on the clerk's report? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
You have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Commissioners, you see under your reports filed, the 6 reports that are listed there. The next item on our agenda is the nominating committee nominations. I'll yield the floor to Commissioner Robert Nichols, the chair of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Mayor. The nominating committee would like to nominate Gary Norris for the Economic and the Community Development Board. He's to replace Lawson Mayberry for a 4-year term expired June 2020.
Is that in the form of a motion?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second? Commissioner Riggins, any discussion on the nominating committee nomination? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 20 yeses, 0 noes, 0 abstentions.
Thank you, ma'am. Under the county mayor nominations, without objection from commissioners, I would like to do both the judicial commissioner and the Montgomery County Parks Committee together without objection. The judicial commissioner is Mr. Michael Williams, nominated to serve another 1-year term to expire June 2017. Montgomery County Parks Committee, Commissioner John Genus, nominated to serve his second 2-year term to expire June 2018. Commissioner Joe Creek, nominated to replace Commissioner Charlie Keene for a 2-year term to expire June 2018. Is there a motion for approval for those two? Commissioner Riccone, is there a second? Commissioner Riggins, any discussion on the county mayor nominations? If you would, please register your vote. Would anyone like to change their vote? Ms. Jackson, would you please tally the vote?
We have 18 yeses, 0 noes, 2 abstentions.
Under county mayor appointments, Convention and Visitors Bureau, Gina Holloman has been, and this is just as a report, Gina Holloman has been serving an unexpired term, is now eligible to serve her first full 3-year term to expire June 2019. Steve Stroman, appointed to serve another 3-year term to expire June 2019. Commissioner Jerry Albert, appointed to serve another 3-year term to expire June 2019. And under Economic Development Council, Commissioner Tommy Vallejos, appointed to replace Commissioner Charlie Keene for a 2-year term to expire June 2018. That completes all of our nominations and appointments. Under our announcements, there will be an American Red Cross blood drive on Thursday, June 16th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the Civic Hall. You may sign up today by visiting www.redcrossblood.org and enter sponsor code MCG19. The Legislative Liaison Committee will be presenting their agenda again this year in September. If you have any suggested items, please email them to Elizabeth Black. You can see her email there on your agenda. 2 announcements that aren't on the what you have on your iPads is you have in your packet a copy of the special event permit that the Parks and Recreation Committee put together. I know when we authorized to do that, some commissioners wanted to see that. I would encourage you to look at that. If you have any questions about it, you may contact Commissioner Albert or contact myself. But they should be, are they on the iPad? Oh, it was emailed to you, sorry. So if you hadn't checked your email, that's where it is. And then lastly, I know there was some conversation this evening regarding nonprofits. Montgomery County and the City of Clarksville and United Way are actually hosting a seminar tomorrow at Veterans Plaza. It's to hopefully provide some very critical information to all of our nonprofit boards. As of this morning, we had 49 people attending it, so I think that's great, and I think it'll be very educational. And that's really all I have. Commissioner Vallejos?
Thank you, Mayor. Had several county commissioners wanted to know any kind of info on bi-county. I know several attended. I think we had about 5 attended our meeting on Wednesday, and I told them I'd refer to you if you want any brief or anything, information.
I will give the commission a quick brief on it. We did have a board meeting last Wednesday by county. There was a recommendation to raise the tipping fees, and that was, I can't say it was defeated. I don't think it ever got a vote. But myself and Commissioner Vallejos, and I think Commissioner Baggett, who also serve on that, were all in disagreement of that proposal. We wanted to see a lot more information. Currently, right now, our landfill has about 8.5 months of airspace, or if you want to say a better word, just of life. There is over 80 acres that's available to expand our landfill. We're in the permitting process now. A lot of the technical information has been submitted to the state. They're still waiting on some construction plans to be submitted to the state. We estimate construction to get an additional about 1.5 years, will take about 3 months, and simultaneously they're working on another area that will give us about 2.2 years of additional space, so that would give us a little over 3.5 years. There is, as I mentioned earlier, there's additional acreage out there that is available, and I think the Bi-County Board is looking at all the practices that Bi-County currently is using, where we're receiving waste from, where we're receiving sludge from, and I think all of those options are on the table until we can get our arms wrapped around this. Commissioner Vallejos, Commissioner Baggett, I don't know if either one of y'all have something you'd like to add to that.
No, just simply said that we're doing our due diligence on this, and it's large. It's larger than life. I mean, it got every federal regulation. I mean, it's so many things tied to it from the state to the feds. But I just think we're doing our due diligence, and because when you don't know what you're getting into, you got to take your time with it, and that's what we're doing. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anything else? Sheriff, would you adjourn us?
Yes, sir. All rise. Oh, yes, this honorable Board of County Commissioners now stands adjourned. Now may God save this state and this honorable Board of County Commissioners.